Just a few days away from next week's off-year elections, and while many have noted how they will set the stage for the midterm elections in 2026, how might they impact the current political landscape, even the government shutdown? Joining me to discuss this and more is Mark Mitchell, head of polling and operations for Rasmussen Reports. Mark, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to be back.
All right, so what are the polls telling us in terms of next week's races?
Well, I think there might be some surprises. And I'll tell you what, I look at the polling and it's actually kind of closer than you would expect, considering that Donald Trump lost New Jersey, for instance, by 6 points. And right now, Mikey Sherrill is only up 3 points in the Real Clear Politics aggregate. And then when you look at Virginia, Spanberger's up 7. So that's not as close of a race, but some really good pollsters have them close. Trafalgar's got Spanberger up 3. And Qantas Insights, also another honest pollster, has Spanberger up 5. Now, I think New Jersey's probably closer than Virginia, but I think the reality that we all have to address is it's surprising that the race is this close in the polling, considering how well Trump did. Because in my polling, 40% of Trump support in November of 2024 actually came from Democrats and independents. And if you look at New Jersey, I mean, it's not a Republican state. And everybody says, well, it's moving to the right. And I think that that really kind of doesn't capture exactly what's happening. I think that the 2024 election was a referendum on mistrust in the government and Joe Biden's statism, overreach, and corruption of the federal government. And people wanted Donald Trump, and they gave him the Republican Party to go along with his victory. And my polling has shown that I think people aren't really happy with the level of effort coming out of the Republican Party right now. And I don't know if the people in these special elections are going to be able to convert all of that Trump support. So it really comes down to what's turnout going to look like.
Right.
You know, are these low propensity voters that now vote for the Republican Party, are they going to turn out? And I don't think we have enough elections to really know. So I think there will be some surprises.
Yeah, turnout is obviously always the key. Polls can tell us one thing, kind of general direction, but it's the people who turn out and vote. Let me go back to something you just said, Mark, about people do not think that the Republicans have delivered or followed through. So what is that? I mean, obviously that this administration has been pretty aggressive, but is it not what people anticipated?
Well, first, Trump was elected for a domestic policy agenda, and he's had a lot of attention overseas in foreign policy entanglements. His job approval rating right now is -8, the lowest of his term. Obviously, some of it's because of the shutdown, but our polling said that Americans are okay with the shutdown as long as they actually get spending cuts and freezes, and that's not happening. So we have a shutdown where basically nobody's doing anything. I think that that's adding to the problem. And like, how does he fix that? Like, there needs to be some plan. Congress is not in session. There's been very little legislation passed. And then the polling says that, well, people don't like what they see. Only 38% of Trump supporters have a very favorable impression of the Republican Party. And when we ask, 60% of Republicans agree that the Republican Party in Congress hasn't delivered on Trump's mandate. And that was back in May. So it's only gotten worse since then. And the window, in my opinion, is closing because it doesn't necessarily look like November 2026 is going to be a slam dunk for Republicans. And what are they going to run on? They're going to run on we're not Democrats. But actually, especially the under 40s are kind of okay with Democrats. They're kind of okay with Democrat socialists. And even the under 40 Trump supporters that we polled on support socialistic policies because they think this entire system, this entire free market conservatism that Republicans have been championing, doesn't work for them anymore. And so how is this entire system going to be fixed? They want to burn the system down, and Republicans aren't speaking to that at all.
So does that give us the backdrop to New York and what's happening there with Mandani?
Exactly. You're going to see a lot more about literally 62% of under 40 think the economy is not fair to young people. 3/4 of Trump 2024 supporters under 40 support nationalizing major industries like energy, healthcare, and tech. And 56% of them supported excess wealth confiscation. So they think the system doesn't work. They don't see Republicans really trying to fix it. They support Donald Trump, but when did the under 40 support Donald Trump most? 60% job approval rating when he was hacking apart the federal government back with DOGE. And what happened? In my opinion, behind the scenes, Republicans probably, curbed DOGE, drove it into a ditch. You don't hear about it at all, but DOGE was even more popular than Donald Trump was, and everybody loved what was going on then. So under 40s went from 60% Trump approval down to high 30s now. He's basically like lost those people. Independents, he's underwater 27 points. A lot of those are younger people as well who aren't happy with either political party. And the Republicans don't really seem to have a plan. Their plan seems to be like, okay, well, this will shut down, will end eventually, and we can get back into reconciliation stuff. But that just looks like business as usual in Washington, D.C. People want something different.
We have 30 seconds left. If New York prevails for the socialists, does that give the Democrats an off-ramp to agree to reopen the government?
I really don't know what's going on. They wanted this shutdown. I think everybody felt this shutdown was coming. It hasn't really affected Donald Trump's numbers. And, they've been talking about the SNAP funding like going away and talking about protests. So I feel like there's an aspect of accelerationism that people are overlooking. And I don't see an out really right now at all.
Yeah. All right. Mark, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be back. Thanks.